Hey there, welcome back to Bridges. We have with us City Council member Joe McNamara. He's also interested in being the mayor of the city of Toledo. We were just talking about, you wanted to talk about neighborhoods again for just a second. One of the things that I know is on the minds of almost everybody out there.
I'm passionate about strengthening neighborhoods, and one thing that the city of Toledo can do to strengthen neighborhoods is to have a presence in them. And one example of that is local police and fire stations in neighborhoods. I actually opposed Mayor Bell's decision to close Fire Station 3 in the North End, and City Council agreed with me, and we were successful in saving that.
But wasn't it a budgetary issue? As I recall, Mayor Bell said we can't afford it.
But that wasn't correct. He said that he wanted to build a new one instead of rehab and save this historic fire station in North Toledo, which actually I went through it with an architect, I went through it with a structural engineer. It is a good building, good bones. Yes, it needed some additions, and after Mayor Bell looked at it, yep, it's part of the plan. It is being saved.
Right.
And neighbors like living near police stations and fire stations.
Absolutely.
They do, and
that
meant. And if you look at North Toledo, the Vistula Historic neighborhood, it has been decimated by lots of institutions that have left the neighborhood. So pulling out another resource, another anchor of the neighborhood was a very bad decision.
Go ahead.
One quick thing: the Northwest District Police Station is another example, and I've pledged to find a way to reopen
that
in West.
Sylvania.
Yes,
yeah,
that's in West
actually
Toledo.
the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one I was thinking of.
So cities having, the city having a presence in neighborhoods is one way you can anchor a neighborhood and promote that stability.
Let me ask you this. You have some detractors, everybody does. John Irish, who's a long-term Democratic operative, categorizes your chances of winning as slight. He says that your support is limited, and he thinks it will be Anita and Mike. At the end of the day, what would you say to John?
John Irish has been a longtime Anita Lopez supporter. He's working on her campaign, and I would expect everyone working for Anita Lopez to say something like that.
Lindsay Webb agrees with him, and she sits she sits with you on council.
Well, she's also supporting Anita Lopez. So again, I would, if you ask my supporters, they'll say Joe's got a good chance. But I don't think it's up to political insiders. I think it's up to the voters to decide who the next mayor is. And this is not about us, this is about them. And to the extent that we present the best plan, that's what voters should choose on, because really voters are choosing the direction that Toledo is going to go in. They're choosing the style of leadership, but they're also choosing the policies and the ideology of whatever person they want to be mayor. I have this proven track record of being innovative, being supportive of neighborhoods, being supportive of people of color, and that is what I will be like as mayor.
You know what, I'm glad you raised that, because that was one of the questions that I intended to ask you. Let's talk about your support of women and your support of folks of color. Give me two examples of what you've given to those communities, or what you've done to enrich the lives and empower those communities.
We talked about it. Again, supporting community development corporations and what they do in the older neighborhoods, making sure that they are funded, making sure their projects work. Fire Station 3 in North Toledo, again, affects an older neighborhood where people of color live. If you look at the statistics in this country, we have a serious problem. There are more young African-American men in prison, on probation or parole than in college. And this is a national problem, and I don't feel that we are supportive enough of our public schools and programs that would help our youth from making bad choices. We talked about the gangs earlier.
All of that's true. All of that's absolutely true. And in your administration, does this get to be a priority? Have you thought about ways that you would, and maybe you don't think it should be a priority. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but do you think it's a priority? And if you do, what thoughts have you given about how we change, or how we begin to change? I don't think that you have some magic wand that's going to make all this go away.
Right.
It was a long time in creation. It's going to be a long time in leaving us. But how do you intend to address these issues?
Well, one thing that I think the next mayor of Toledo has to do is be a champion for Toledo Public Schools. And I think the school board made a great decision in hiring the new superintendent, Dr. Durant. He, I think, is a rock star and a homegrown Toledoan. That was a great start. I think he has the opportunity to be a transformational leader of our schools. I am going to be, hand in glove with Toledo Public Schools. I'm going to be their strongest advocate, and I'm going to advocate for them in the state budget, state laws. And something that I was very dismayed about was the fact that Mayor Bell endorsed Governor Kasich's budget. Governor Kasich's budget was bad for Toledo, it was bad for poor, it was bad for people of color, it was bad for public schools. And the fact that Mayor Bell just endorsed it without trying to advocate more for urban schools for the city of Toledo was extremely disappointing. So the mayor of Toledo not only has to look at, you know, local ordinances and laws and budgets, but the mayor of Toledo has to look at what the state is doing, what, you know, our national government is doing, and look at the big picture on these types of things, and not just say, yeah, Governor Kasich's my buddy, I endorse what he's doing.
You know, one of the things that has disappointed me about this campaign is that it's taken on, not just you, I'm talking about your peers as well, they've taken on this approach, the typical campaign approach, which I got to tell you, most of us are really tired of, that sort of criticism of each other without fail, without focusing more on what each of you, the 6 of you, intend to bring to this community. We have a community that I think is moving quickly toward crisis. So what I think I want to hear, and what I think people like me want to hear, are a lot less of that, you know, they're terrible, because I think everybody's trying to do the best they can do, but more about what you bring to the table. So we've heard you talk about economic development, we've heard you talk about your support of schools, we've heard you talk about your green jobs, bringing green jobs to the community. And so you want to leave everyone today feeling comfortable that you are in fact capable of making changes at those levels, should you be elected, with the same resources Mike Bell has had, with the same resources City Council has had. You can make those kinds of changes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about making the best with the opportunities that you have in front of you. And as council president, as a member of council, I've got a track record of innovation and prioritizing to get things done and doing things new and improving the community. And as mayor, with 2,700 people, you know, in the McNamara administration working to try new things and improve the community, you're going to see even more of what I've been able to accomplish as a member of council.
Councilman Collins just entered the race. What do you think about the Collins factor?
This is a democracy, and everyone is
see, I
is
knew
free.
you'd say
I
that.
mean,
I know, it's America. Everybody's free to run. But what's he bring?
You just said that you don't like the negativity in campaigns,
this
and now
is not negative. Analysis is not necessarily negative.
Right.
You know, you can certainly analyze the circumstances you're in without being negative about it.
I am going to be focused on talking to as many voters as I possibly can, and
see,
being positive and talking
I'm not
about.
going to let you walk around the question like that. What does the Collins factor do to this race? Does he bring any particular strength that no one else has? Is he just somebody who works really hard?
I think that unfortunately, you need to raise at least $100,000 to be able to reach voters, and I mean, it would be great if I could just knock on the door of every single voter in Toledo, and that's not going to be possible between now and the primary.
Sure.
So you have to address voters with your plans through
Yeah,
paid
and you
media.
do have a good street campaign. You have a good
Yep.
grassroots campaign.
Thank you.
You do need credit for that.
So I don't think that Councilman Collins is going to be able to raise the resources he needs to be able to break through.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think he's
tough
got
right
the. I
now.
mean, I don't know where his name recognition is at, but you have to be able to raise enough money to reach the voters, and I don't think it's going to.
You know, Jack Ford said something I thought was pretty interesting about you. He said that you were progressive in a beer and shot town. You know, Toledo is more about beer and shots. If you're gonna, do you think that's true? Do you think you're a little bit ahead of your time?
I'm going to tell you a secret about myself. I actually am a home brewer. I make beer at home. I love beer.
Jack didn't know that.
No, I don't
guess.
think Jack knew that. So Toledo is my town. It is my lifeblood. My whole family is committed to making Toledo the best place it can be. And of course, you know, my father was on city council. He's county auditor.
Yeah.
I love Toledo, and I am going to show the voters that I've got the best plan and the best vision to make the city be the best it possibly can. And Toledo deserves that.
We've got just a few minutes left, about 3 minutes left, in fact, and word on the street is that Anita Lopez is going to be your strongest competitor. Do you want to give us some differences between the two of you?
Well, again, I think I would reiterate what I said. I've got a great track record of working well with other elected officials, and the mayor cannot be successful without being able to work well with other 12 members of council. And I think you've seen some run-ins between Anita Lopez and the county commissioners. There was that incident where she called on them to resign. I don't have that sort of discrepancy between working with people, and that I think that is a very strong contrast. The second thing is the ethics pledge that I signed that Mayor Bell and Anita Lopez refused to sign. I think there's a problem with running your campaign out of your elected office, and she is using people in the auditor's office to serve as her campaign manager and running her campaign. I think that's an ethical problem. I think it's an ethical problem to raise money from people you can hire and fire, and we see that going on both with Anita Lopez and Mike Bell, and I think Toledo deserves better. I think they deserve someone who is going to be a more ethical elected leader and not take the political route of using your political office to be reelected. And that's what I'm committed to. That's the pledge I've signed. I hope that all the candidates sign it, but so far,
You're the only one that signed it so far.
And I think it's common sense. Don't raise money from people you can hire and fire.
Yeah.
Don't let government workers work on your campaign during business hours.
Is that illegal to do?
Well, I think Ms. Lopez
was
is saying that they're taking time off. But here's the issue: is how do you really know? I mean,
That they're taking
right?
time
And
off, yeah.
okay. So someone goes to an Anita Lopez rally and is late going back to the auditor's office.
Yeah. Where's the thing?
Yeah.
All right, you've got 30 seconds. How do you want to?
I just
how do you
when I
wanna leave
tell the
them?
people at Toledo, I am absolutely passionate about making Toledo the best it possibly can, and I really appreciate the chance of being on and talking.
Thank
about the
you, and
issues.
you'll come back.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great. All right. He said it. He's coming back. We always run out of time here, and I know there's so much more I'd like to talk to you about as well. But we do have to go away for just a moment. We'll be right back.